2, 1, and there we go. That is what I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen. I had some issues with the stream key here on YouTube, but now we seem to be all set and ready to go. A few minutes late, but better late than never. And I got comfortable here, so before I start, I'm gonna share the link. Please be patient with me. I haven't found a better solution to actually solve this a little bit smoother for my audience. So in the beginning, there will always be a few minutes of weird talking because I do share the link at the same time as I do this. So Facebook first. We get 2 things to share. There we go. We are live. Boom, boom. Post. And then we do this whole thing again, but we gonna copy and we gonna go to Instagram. Doop-dee-doo-dee-doo, doop-dee-doo-dee-doo. Instagram, there we go. Go on edit profile. Put the link in the description in info. I don't know where I got this from. This is actually smart because you cannot click the link on Instagram. So if you put it in your biography or in your information field, people can actually click it at the very same time from their phone when they are on Instagram. So now I'm just gonna share this. And then we're almost ready to go. Almost. Share this. Only a few more minutes. What I can do in the meantime is to put on some music. I found a really nice jazz mix this morning. I hope I find it now. Search. Yeah, we're gonna start here in a few seconds. So I hope the music is not too loud. There we go. And now we just gonna share this. Almost ready to go. If the music is too loud, let me know. We have, as always, a live stream going on where you can use the chat option and you can let me know either you have questions or if the music is too loud or something is weird, just drop me a message so I know what you know. Nobody wants to die stupid. And boom. Almost there. Ding-a-ling. I should not sing because I am not good at singing. Well, I am good at singing bad, but I'm bad at singing good. And with that being said, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, people of the planet Earth, now there's only one thing left to do. And if you hear what I'm doing, you know what I'm talking about. Bam! Welcome back to Bangkok, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Surrounded by Details podcast. With me, Stevo, I am your host, and thank you so much for tuning in. And one last thing before we go, a shout out to Nanox Nutrition. Thank you for always supporting our podcast in my and my workouts. So if you want to get the best out of you, make sure to put the best inside of you. Also a big shout out to Sanctuary Kombucha, who's always sending me delicious kombucha. Make sure to check them out on social media. They don't only spread good flavored kombucha, they also spread knowledge. So if you want to know why kombucha is having such a trend going on at the moment, just drop them a message, ask them, and I'm sure they will be happy to send you more information if you can find the information already on their social media. And yeah, where have I been? It has been a little bit quiet over the last week. That is because I have been in Myanmar, in Yangon to be more exact, for the World Lethwei Championship 2. And it was awesome. So that is what we're gonna do today. We're gonna recap a little bit on the week and on the event and on Lethwei itself, a little bit about the history, because it seems to me it is new to a lot of people, especially to foreigners. I mean, it is traditional Myanmarese or Burmese boxing. What do you say actually? Myanmarese, Burmese? I just stick with Burmese because I know that is correct. Also, Jordan, a friend in Myanmar, told me that you say Myanmar people or Burmese. However, I cracked a beer here because it has been a hectic week. There has been behind the scenes, there has been weigh-ins and then profile shots and then the event itself. Then the travel back and forth, which is from Bangkok, not too bad because it's only an hour and a half from Bangkok to Yangon. So that doesn't actually count as an excuse. But once you come back, you have to edit all the footage, and it has been a long night. I am very, very tired. I did all the images last night, and then I had to do a bunch of stuff this morning, and then I had to catch up with all the household work that you have to do. So my laundry is actually at the moment hanging outside my window, my balcony, and disturbing my view on the beautiful skyline of Bangkok. So I decided I'm not gonna look out today while I record. I'm gonna crack a beer and just chill, have some jazz on, and tell you guys about my past week. So yeah, what exactly is Lethwei? I've been posting pictures and I've been talking with Matt Eaton about Lethwei before. And it turns out it is quite a crazy sport, to be honest. And it is, as I mentioned, Myanmar traditional boxing. And it is considered to be one of the most brutal martial arts in the world. And if you witnessed one Lethwei event, it won't surprise you that people consider it one of the most brutal combat sports. Because everything is allowed. Kicks, punches, of course. There's no fight without punches. Well, I guess jiu-jitsu and a bunch of other ones maybe that I'm not aware of, but hey, we're talking Lethwei here, so of course punches, kicks and headbutts, and this is what most likely separates Lethwei from most of the other mixed martial arts. The headbutts. And the last event I can remember that the foreign fighters who were invited to fight at WLC 1 weren't really ready for the headbutts, because there are several techniques. I'm gonna come into or go into that a little bit later, because I had the pleasure and honor to spend half a day with the one and only color commentary Mitch Chilson, who was out on a mission to learn all about Lethwei, and he didn't just read about it or watch it, he actually went to a traditional Lethwei gym. So we found out a little bit more about headbutts, and I was quite happy because I was taking pictures. Then we had a videographer with us, Ryan, he was taking videos, and yeah, Mitch had to do all the hard work while we enjoyed watching him trying to learn the technique behind headbutts. But I'm gonna come to that in a little bit, because I'm gonna talk a little bit more about Lethwei. It's very, very raw. It's a bare knuckle fight, so it can't get more raw than that. So back in the days, they actually used to fight in sandpits, and everybody from a farmer to a king was fighting Lethwei. And nowadays they have actually adapted a little bit more to the market, because you need to marketing the whole stuff. So they actually added a little bit of bandages, so it's not just the bare knuckle. And also a few of the rules have been modified to make it a little bit more viewer friendly. And as in Muay Thai, Lethwei has their introduction dance, actually the same dance that you use when you win the fight, and it is called Lethwei Yai. It is a fight dance before and after the fight, so if you win you have to dance. And they also have a gesture. I'm not aware of that they have the same thing in Muay Thai. Maybe, maybe not, but it's probably just a newbie speaking here. They have a gesture which shows the challenge to their opponent. So basically you hold one arm under your armpit and then you keep on tapping your elbow with the other hand, and people go nuts when the fighters come into the arena and do that. It's kind of a call out. Like in b-boying, we call it call out. You go into the circle, the octagon, or wherever you are, and you call somebody out. I guess it's the same here in Lethwei. So yeah, the event was on Saturday, and I already arrived on Tuesday because I had to leave Thailand because of my visa. So I thought, why not going a little bit earlier to Myanmar? And lucky enough, a friend of mine was in Yangon as well at the very same time. So we actually decided on Wednesday afternoon we're gonna have a shooting. But unfortunately, rainy season, people, Southeast Asia, it's raining a lot at the moment. It didn't work out. It was raining all over the place. So on Wednesday I basically was just sitting inside. But before I get into Thursday, I actually have to come back to Tuesday because it was really weird. I had one of these weird flights. I don't know if you guys have seen, what's the movie called? Where they all die. You see, now I forget the name here talking about it. However, I was flying Lion Air, and the flight was delayed by 1.5 hours, and we finally took off, and I was quite tired. And we lifted off, and you know how they turn off the lights? And then once you hit a certain height, you actually turn back on the lights and the stewardess start to move around and the people talk. But this flight was different. It stayed very quiet. The stewardess were not really moving. They were just sitting down, and you could see outside because of the blinking light. You could just see the clouds passing by, and a kind of Final Destination. It felt like Final Destination, really quiet, and it was just a weird energy about this flight. I never had a flight like this because normally people talk, but this flight was just completely quiet, and that annoys me. I don't like it very quiet when I fly. I don't know why. I always like to do something, either play cards with a friend who's flying with me, or listen to music or a good podcast, or just listen to other people or the noise itself. I just enjoy it. However, that was a little bit annoying and really weird. And then we touched down in Yangon, and the airport in Yangon is quite small, and we arrived late. So it actually was quite empty. And for the first time in Yangon, I actually had no waiting time at the immigration. Normally I always have to wait there half an hour, because they are not the fastest people at the immigration in Myanmar. No offense, but as a German, we have a different efficiency. However, I got my bag and then I got picked up, and I couldn't believe my eyes because they were sending a huge GMC, I think is the van called, and it was just insane. It looked like newly washed, and the guys opened the door and I stepped inside, and there were 2 seats and then a bench in the back. They had 2 minibars, they had 5 screens in there, each seat had their own radio. But then I had to find out the minibar was empty. How can you send a shuttle like this and actually have an empty minibar? Just put something in there, iced tea, milk or whatever. It doesn't even have to be liquor, but just don't send it empty. I mean, if you put the effort into it to send such a car, then put something in there, water, something, just for the flavor. But again, who am I complaining here? Because the pickup was awesome. I would have moved into that car immediately, and I hope they're gonna repeat this pickup the next time as well for WLC, the World Lethwei Championship 3 in a couple of months. And if you want to see the fights, if you want to see pictures that I've been editing, please make sure to go on the Facebook page World Lethwei Championship and keep yourself up to date. I think they posted all the images and all the videos already, so make sure to check that out, and I will be reposting on my social media as well. So yeah, Tuesday the shooting didn't work out. Wednesday it was another rainy day, didn't really do anything except for one thing, and that was working out in the morning on all these days. And I was really proud of myself because I was the first one in the gym. Since I started this new app on my iPhone, the bedtime app, I wake up every day around 6:15, 6:30, a little bit earlier than I normally do, and I just go straight to the gym. I don't eat breakfast before, I just go straight to the gym. I like the atmosphere of being the first one, and I felt really proud because when you have a hotel full with fighters, it makes you feel good when you as a photographer are the first one in the gym. So yeah, that was my Wednesday. Didn't really do much either. Watched a couple of movies. in the hotel, because I don't have a TV where I live. So sometimes when I go out and travel and I have a nice hotel room, they often have TVs there, and then you get stuck in front of a TV. And that is exactly the reason why I don't have a TV at home, because I don't want to get stuck. Plus, most of the shit you find on the internet / the World Wide Web anyway. You know what I mean? So, but since there was not much more to do, I didn't really have a choice. I wanted to go out with my camera, maybe go and see the pagoda, because I've been in Yangon a couple of times, but I actually never been to the #1 sightseeing in town, the big pagoda. So I wanted to change that, but again, didn't work out. Thursday was pretty easy. We had a production day on Thursday, so we did the photo shoots, the portrait shoots that most of the promotions use as cutouts for the walk-ins. They were doing videos as well, so it went really quick. We had kind of a emergency setup because the hotel didn't have a backdrop, and we didn't arrange a backdrop here from Bangkok because it's unnecessary wait when you fly, and I figured out that the hotel might have one, but they didn't. So, emergency setup. And for the people who work with me, you probably know this is exactly the way I like to work. I like to work on the spot, come up with solutions, and it's more fun when not everything is perfect. Sometimes, depending on the client, that is not the best thing to do, but we enjoyed it to find a solution here, and everything worked out fine. We got the photos done, we got the interviews done, and Netflix was on place. Netflix was there, and that was very interesting to see, because they were filming a documentary with Frank Grillo from the TV show Kingdom, and also known as the villain in Captain America. And they were doing a show where they travel to different spots in around the world and do a documentary about different combat sports. So that was cool to meet him. Really cool guy, really friendly. He has been in Myanmar as well, been training Lethwei with a couple of the athletes, and was really excited for the event as well. And for me as a photographer, of course, I geeked out on the Netflix equipment, because they were shooting with the Reds, they were having great steady cams. It was amazing to see how such a TV show comes together. And even though it was a little bit annoying, because sometimes when you have too much media on the spot, you kind of run into each other's way. But we got along quite well, no egos at all, which you sometimes have. And again, that can be very annoying. But this time, everybody seemed to coordinate. The Netflix guys respected the TV team from Myanmar. They respected my space. I respected their space. So it was really... it was a pleasure to work with these guys. And to be honest, I haven't watched Kingdom, but I heard loads of good stuff about it. But I actually seen Captain America, and that is where I know Frank Grillo from. And I always try not to interrupt or attack a famous person, a VIP, as soon as they come in, but you don't really often have the chance to get a photo of these kind of people. So I was looking forward to maybe arrange a shot. I'm gonna come to that in a bit, because I always set up portrait shots before the event actually starts. And I was looking forward, because in Myanmar, in Yangon, you have this old stadium. It's probably one of the, probably the only indoor stadium in Yangon. And it's really old, really raw, reminds me of East Germany a lot. So was looking forward to that. And that was my Thursday. It was pretty chill. Again, worked out before the actual shoot, started to eat properly. I've been mentioning that on my last podcast, and I get more into the whole healthy thing. And Thursday was the last day that I felt really proud to work out, because Friday was rest day, and then on Saturday I got my mind blown up. But before Saturday there's Friday, and this is what I mentioned before. On Friday I spent half the day with Mitch Chilson, the color commentator from World Championship, who was there as well in order to shoot a small documentary about Lethwei, and he decided to go to Lethwei gym and learn all about it. And in most of the cases you warm up and you throw a couple of kicks, you throw a couple of punches, and you spar a little bit, but not in Myanmar. in Myanmar, you warm up and then you go straight into the headbutts. And it's amazing to see, and I think Mitch was quite surprised by that as well, what kind of technique is actually behind headbutts. And he mentioned that in an interview, or in a recap, in a summary, that it's surprising that not more mixed martial arts use such an effective weapon as headbutts. It's very brutal, of course, but there are so many different techniques, and I can totally understand why in the first World Lethwei Championship most of the foreigners got caught with headbutts, because you have no idea how many and intriguing techniques there are to throw a headbutt. So I'm looking forward to see Mitch putting that video on social media, so you people can have a look as well. Make sure to follow him on Instagram or on Facebook, Mitch Chilson. You can also check out his other project, Butter Coffee, where he makes delicious coffee with butter. And I had the pleasure to try that, and it's awesome. I need to get myself a coffee machine. I need to get myself all this kind of stuff to do a proper butter coffee. Another thing, I really get into the whole being healthy thing. And that brings me into Saturday, because on Saturday I got my mind blown by Mitch Chilson. He invited me to work out with him, and of course I said yes, because you don't often, again, have the opportunity to work out with professional people like that. So I took the opportunity and then learned really quickly that most of the stuff I do pretty wrong. Because when you are into your workout, and for me, I'm really lazy when it comes to workout, not in actually doing it, but in actually doing the research in order to find the right workout. Because every person is different, every workout needs to be individual, it needs to be specified for you as a person. And when you then go out on the internet and you have so many people say different things, you just go with something and put something together that you think is right, but then you learn really quickly it's not. Because your body is full of bad habits, at least mine, and I'm pretty sure there's more people out there that are in the same situation as I am, and I have a really bad posture. So when I started working out with Mitch, he realized that really quick, and I had a back problem for a couple of years now, which comes from street shows and breaking in my younger years, and many people I've been trying to help me. I've been trying different things, yoga, I've been going to a physiotherapist, and other people have been giving me tips and tricks. But it turns out everybody was focused on the spot where I actually had the pain, except for Mitch. Mitch explained a little bit more how the body is connected, and for me to recap now, that would be insane, because I have to reread it again and I have to redo all the exercises that he showed me, but my back pain actually comes from my ass. So Mitch showed me a couple of tricks, and turned out I'm such a wuss, because my muscle got so stiff, my butt muscle, so he was just squeezing in there with his elbow in order to loosen it up, and there was pain. On the left side it was just crazy, on the right side I didn't mind too much, but wow, it's funny, or amazing, it's not funny, it's amazing how the human body is connected and how little we know. We need to educate ourselves a little bit more, and when I say we, I mean myself, and we kept on doing different exercises combined with some of my normal workout routines, and I was really trying to listen to Mitch what he said. But of course, if you get so much information at once, it is hard to soak everything in at once. So I made some notes as soon as I got back to the hotel room, and for most of the time I was just very, very disappointed in myself, because I always talk about educate yourself before entertain yourself, and then I miss out on such an important part. And I was really angry with myself, and I'm sure I will improve that in the future. I will change my routine a little bit. I will have a proper warm-up. I warmed up a little bit normally, but not in the kind of way which is actually good for my body to rehab from the bad posture, to activate different muscles that are not active because of the bad posture. So thank you again for the help, Mitch Chilson, and I really hope to improve that. Tomorrow I'm gonna go and get myself a new yoga mat and a couple of balls, not only because I've been a wuss, but also a couple of balls to actually roll around on, to loosen up the muscles and to yeah, tackle my back problem. Because if I don't do that now, I will have that in the future again, and over again. And life is as a game of chess. You gotta think ahead. Every action has a reaction, so you want to make sure to tackle that problem as soon as possible, because as he said to me, it is your body screaming for help. You need to do it, you cannot just leave it. And we all know most of the guys, they are just, I don't need a doctor, I don't need to do this. And I'm pretty much the same. It's a bad habit. But now we are aware of the problem, so now we have the chance to improve the problem. So the first step to actually improving is always being aware of the problem and be honest to yourself that you have to take a step backwards sometimes in order to make a step forward. Let me just scroll down here before I continue. And yeah, that was on Saturday. We actually worked out on Saturday before we went to the event, and yeah, the hotel shuttle was already entertaining. As always, there were buses to pick up the fighters and the media from the hotel. And in Yangon, things are a little bit different. They sent a police to take us through Yangon traffic. But then there was one guy, I don't really know if he just wanted to get in for free or if he actually belonged to the team. But he was biking in between the buses with his bicycle, and we're just pushing the cars aside with wild hand gestures. So yeah, it looked a little bit like he saw opportunity there. If he keeps squeezing in between the bus and yeah, bike really fast, he might be able to come into the stadium for free. Or maybe he was an employee, I don't really know. What I'm trying to say here, it was loads of fun to see that, because you don't see that every day either. And this stadium, as I already mentioned, it's kind of reminding me of East Germany. It's really old. Myanmar recently opened up their country a little bit more. It was under a military government, and yeah, really old, really raw. Cool location to take portraits if you have lights. If you have to do the making of behind the scenes with a warm-up, it's not as easy because there's not so much light available, which makes it a little bit hard for the photographer nerds in my audience. What I'm trying to say, you have to shoot with a very high ISO and a very low shutter speed, which makes the picture noisy. But again, noisy can also mean great black and white pictures. So I hope that I found the balance there, and I just let you guys judge. Again, make sure to check out my social media or the social media of the World Lethwei Championship. And to actually get into the fights now, because I said this is going to be a World Lethwei WLC 2 recap, and I've already been talking for, I don't know, 20 minutes, 25 minutes about every single little detail of that week. Let's get into the fights. And we only had 7 of them, because one fight got unfortunately cancelled because one of the fighters had a scooter accident here in Bangkok actually, and couldn't make it to the fight, and his opponent was pretty bummed out. But sometimes stuff like that happens, and on that behalf we hope that Brent Bolster gets well soon and recovers quickly from his scooter accident. So yeah, 7 fights only, but it doesn't really matter with Lethwei because there are no really prelims. From the very beginning, from the very first fight, it is pure entertainment. You get what you paid for 100%. And I've been saying this to one of the guys who works with the organization, with the promotion. WLC, for me as a photographer, is definitely one of my favorite events to shoot because it is spectacular. It is traditional, you have the culture in there, you have the brutality in there. After the event I had to clean all my equipment because there was blood all over the place, and I just enjoyed it. So yeah, first fight was already very, very entertaining, but as always when you have a fight card, in the beginning of the fight card you try to shoot your artistic shots a little bit more, because once you come closer towards the co-main event and the main event, the shots get a little bit more important, so you need a little bit more action and you don't really have the time to run around, for example, all the way up to take an overview of the stadium or behind the scenes or try to find different angles. So you want to be close once you come to the co-main event and the main event. And instead of going through all the fights, I actually just want to talk about noteworthy fights and also fight of the night. there were several good fights, but I think a special shout out goes to, let me see here, I have the name in front of me. Fight of the night goes to Po Tan versus Josh Fitzroy from Australia. Young kid from Australia, and yeah, what can I say? What a warrior. Stayed in there, got beaten, and blood all over the place, not only over the floor and over my camera, also all over his face. But he refused to give up. It was a great fight. He kept in there, and that's the reason why it's fight of the night for me, because man, his face did not look pretty after the fight. And my apologies if I get a little bit too personal. This has absolutely nothing to do with his performance, but this is what you get with fighting sometimes. Sometimes you can go out to a date after a fight, and sometimes you should stay inside for a week or two. And in Josh's case, I hope he gets well really fast. He told me backstage actually that he had some problems with his jaw a few years earlier, and ever since it just keeps on messing up whenever he gets hit in the jaw or the face. But he gets my performance of the night, even if he didn't win. I think you can perform well, because performance is not only what you do physically, it is also what you do mentally, and that is the exact reason why he gets my probably not so important award, vocal award of Fight of the Night. And if I turn my little note card here around, I actually come straight to the co-main event and the main event. The co-main event was between Toto and James Bernal from France. Didn't speak too much English, which I always think is not a big advantage if you are fighting international and at the other side of the planet. I think if you're a fighter, you have a certain responsibility not only to fight good, which he obviously did, it was a very close fight, but you also need to be able to communicate and to marketing yourself. So yeah, I think that was a little bummer. I would have loved to speak to him a little bit more, maybe do a quick iPhone interview with him. He's very used to fighting Muay Thai, and had a very, very good first round. Seemed to have the fight under control, but as in Muay Thai, also in Myanmar, the Lethwei fighters, they save themselves until around the end of the second, beginning of the third, and that is when it went batshit crazy. Yeah, it's always surprising, because when you see a guy like James, who is so much bigger than Tutu, you think, okay, you have the bigger reach and you're gonna take it. For me, again, as a newbie to the sport, I'm still a little bit too visual, and yeah, I actually had James on my paper, but Tutu just kept improving. And what is really, really noteworthy with Lethwei is that none of the people actually get really knocked down. They just keep going and going and going. It's the same as a Muay Thai. I guess they are used to it because they have so many fights. I mean, sometimes a Muay Thai, Dejjamrong, I don't know, over 300 fights, Tutu, close to 100 fights. I guess you get used to it after a while. So it's really hard to knock these guys out. And of course they have skills as well, so not every time, they don't get hit every time you throw a punch. They know how to duck, they know how to avoid you hitting them in the face. But as I said, it was a very close fight, and of course when you are fighting in Myanmar, you have a little home advantage, and that gave Tutu the W. And he actually got called out by another Australian guy who was with Joshua, who was cornering Josh. Not Joshua, Josh. And I actually missed out on that call out, on that face-off in the ring, because I was already backstage in order to focus on the main event between, let me see here, I have to read the name again, So Lin O versus Artur Saladiak from Poland. I'm pretty sure I'm butchering his name here. I'm not really well with names. Yeah, what is there to say about the main event? Before I get into the main event, a shout out to Artur, to Artur's coach. They just seem to have this family relationship. Coach Paul was constantly running around with a shirt that said Coach Paul. could have just said Arthur's daddy or whatever. It was really good to see that relationship between coach and fighter, and I got some awesome shots after the fight as well and during the preparation. So I always enjoy that, when you really see that the fighter is not only in his world, which he obviously have to be because he needs to prepare mentally for the fight as well, but it's always a pleasure when, like for example Team Lakai, it's not just a cornerman feeling and a fighter feeling, my apologies, but sometimes with big gyms you don't really have that feeling, you know what I mean? Best example, Angela Lee, Christian Lee. That's a proper family relationship. It's not just coach and fighter. No matter if you try to divide it, I think it's very hard to divide. There's some sort of level which will always be family. But sometimes you also just see that it's coach and it's fighter. The gym is big and you have many fighters to take care of. It's hard to provide that comfort for the coaches with all the fighters. So it was really a pleasure to see that with Artur, who is now living in England, by the way. He's from Poland, but living in England. They flew him all the way over here. And yeah, what is there to say? Solin seemed to be the star, the Justin Bieber of Lethwei, if I might say so. Seemed to be really, really popular and really calm, and again, a guy with I don't know how many fights under his belt, and it was very, very interesting. The first round was very slow again, and Artur did a really great job in actually keeping the distance. And I have to compare again to the last event. The people who came here from the foreign countries and fought Lethwei didn't really seem prepared for what is about to come, and this time it seemed different. It seemed the Farangs, the foreign fighters, were way more prepared than last time, and I think Artur was the best example, because from the very beginning he was fighting very smart, and even though at the end of the second and beginning of the third round, when So Lin got more aggressive, Artur did stick to his game plan, kept the distance, and didn't get involved in the throwing punches. After a while, So Lin got very, very annoyed that he actually got beaten. And if you fight in front of your home crowd against a foreigner, there's a lot of pride in there, and you could see that in So Lin, and I think this is what kept him a little bit from actually winning the fight. I don't think his skills are worse than Artur's, but I think Artur was just smarter in this fight and more calm, because he didn't really have anything to lose. He's flying all the way from England to Yangon, Myanmar. What do you have to lose? Except for blood in Lethwei. There is not really much, so it was great to see that he kept to his game plan and was fighting his fight. And even if So Lin got more aggressive for each round and just kept on going forward and forward all the time, the knees of Artur slowly took out the air of So Lin. And even if So Lin, after every punch he took, made a gesture, it didn't hit me, it didn't hurt me, that is often the sign that it actually did hurt. And it became a little bit funny after a while, because that happened literally after every fight. And yeah, it went all the way, and not as back in the days with Lethwei, where they fought until you have last man standing. They modified the rules a little bit. This happened in the 1950s actually by a Olympic boxer from Myanmar. He wanted to make it more friendly. So yeah, they modified the rules a little bit, and it went to decision. 5 rounds, 3 minutes, 2-minute break. Not 1 minute as in most fights in MMA. You have 2-minute breaks. Probably also because it's super hot. There was no aircon in the stadium. So it went to the decision, and I turned around, and again, we talk Myanmar here, we talk a proud country, and I was having a look at the judges, and they were disgusting, because now I made it sound like Artur was dominating the fight. In my eyes, he was clearly the winner, but some other people I spoke to, they still considered the fight really close. So I kept an eye on the judges, and I could see they were trying around and see, discussing, okay, is there a possibility that our home guy can win? But in that case, again, in my opinion, there wasn't, and Artur took the victory. The first foreigner that I have seen at the WLC, the World Lethwei Championship, 1 and 2 together, that actually won, and it was a big, big upset and he handled it with loads of respect, not only to his opponent So Lin, but also towards the crowd. And the crowd was obviously not happy, so maybe because of pride we will see a rematch here in the near future, maybe at the next event, who knows? We don't really know. But that's what's so much fun about WLC. The only thing we know is the main event for the next show already, which is between the Australian guy and Toto. However, again, loads of respect from Arthur to the crowd, and this is where I got my favorite shot of the evening. The prize goes to Coach Paul and Arthur, when Arthur just jumped up, and you can see Coach Paul just holding him, lifting him up, and both are screaming. And these shots of course are always the best ones, the emotional ones. And as I said to one of the WLC guys, Lethwei is a little bit like taking pictures of babies. You can't really fuck up. It's very easy, because you have the mix of tradition, culture, brutality. It's just impossible to mess up. And I'm really happy with my album. I'm gonna put up the best of gallery here either tonight or tomorrow. It depends on. I'm probably gonna have a little bit of sleep now because I edited all last night, and then a few shots today as well. And there will be an article on fightnation.com as well, where you can see my images, a few other ones. So there is loads of Lethwei photography around on the World Wide Web at the moment, and I hope you all enjoy not only the photos but also the video work. And my colleague, a young feller from Myanmar, did a great job, because you always several photographers. One photographer sticks with the event at ringside, and then I am most likely often run back and forth between backstage, upstairs to take overview shots, and so on and so on. I keep on repeating myself. So shout out to him as well for great shots. They are also on the social media page. And then I want to give a special shout out to the one and only Jordan, who was getting me batteries, because I got myself some batteries for the portrait shots, but in Yangon the batteries seem to be only half full, because I did a couple of test shots and then the batteries were empty and I didn't have any more batteries. So he actually went to the nearest shop, and I just said jokingly, dude, once you're there, can you bring me a beer as well? Because the stadium was a little bit outside, so he actually had to drive a little bit, and I only meant it as a joke. And then half an hour he comes back and said, Stevo, I got your batteries and I got your beer. And I was laughing so hard. And what a helpful guy. He took me and Mitch out for food in the middle of the night after the event. As well, he did translate, and I had the pleasure to work with him at the first event as well. So shout out to Jordan, always doing a great job. The beer went to the security guard who was watching my lights for the whole evening, which I in the end never used. And with that being said, I actually never got my portrait shot of Frank Grillo, but I got a shot with him on ringside. So at least a memory of meeting a Marvel villain, Captain America, if you want to see. And I'm also gonna start watching Kingdom, because I heard so many good things about it, and he seemed to be really into fighting, not just the actor who does a little bit of fighting. So something I'm looking forward to. Too much to watch. F is for Family is running constantly on my laptop at the moment. Then I have Kingdom lined up, then House of Cards, a new season. Jesus Christ, so many things going on. And with that being said, we are slowly but surely coming to an end of this wild selfie recap episode. And I didn't even have one sip of my beer because I was talking the whole time. You know what? Before we finish this episode, I'm actually gonna have a sip of my beer. There is nothing better than coming home after job, after a night full of editing, and having a sip of beer. And I also come over this point now where I actually feel for a cigarette every time I have a sip of beer, which is not too often because I don't really drink much. But that took me basically 3-4 months. But I don't have that feeling anymore, and I don't even think about cigarettes anymore. So props for myself. That's what you gotta do sometimes. You gotta give props to yourself and make yourself happy. And I'm really happy with my progress of not smoking. To be honest, I had 1 or 2 cigarettes in between, but considering that we are in the month of June, I can live with that. You know what I mean? It's not really fallback. It just happened. It wasn't really my fault. It was the cigarette's fault. The cigarette was there. I was there. They were looking at me. I had a beer, and before we knew, it just happened. But yeah, there was no joy involved. I can promise you that. However, that sounded weird. However, with that being said, episode number 109, the World Lethwei Championship 2 recap, is coming to an end. We will be back tomorrow already at 6 p.m. Bangkok time with The Angel of the Bang Kwang Prison, a podcast episode that I have been looking forward to for several weeks, I would almost say month, because we are going to talk to Susan Aldous. Again, the angel of the Bang Kwang prison. She hasn't been giving interviews for years, as she have told us, and we are very honored and very proud to have her on the podcast and talk about her story. Now, I'm not gonna give away too much, but you can Google, and all I can say, she is a former Australian playmate who is, in prison quite often here in Thailand, to make it sound a little bit more interesting. So make sure to tune in tomorrow at 6 p.m. in the evening. We gonna do that live, and we're gonna do that over the phone as well, because again, we had to move from our old location and are at the moment doing our podcast via phone without any video. And don't forget to subscribe, of course, as always. You can find us on YouTube, Surrounded by Details Podcast, and you can find us on iTunes and Podbean, where you can download all our audio episodes for free. Audio only, but it is for free. So shut the fuck up and go get yourself some free audio episodes on iTunes or Podbean, Surrounded by Details Podcast. And you can, of course, also find us on Facebook, Steve Bonhage Photography / Surrounded by Details Podcast, and on Instagram, steve.bonhage. Steve, as always, without a E at the end. And then you have Bonhage, Bonhage, or as I like to call it, Bonage. Steve Bonage. And if you're not a social media person, just go on my website, stevebonage.com, where you can find the best fight photography around here in Asia. Most likely the universe, maybe even more. But is there more than the universe? We don't know. However, my ego is taking over already after 2 zips of beer, so I should slowly bring this to an end. You can find all my social media, all my work, all my podcast episodes on my website, again, www.stevebonhage.com. And with that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, thank you so much for listening and bearing with this rough start I had today to make this stream work and to get the link out of there. Thank you so much, it was a pleasure. Educate yourself before you entertain yourself. That is the lesson that we have learned in Yangon, and we also learned that Lethwei is awesome. See you all. Have a great start in the week, and I see you tomorrow 6 p.m. with Susan, the angel of the Bang Kwang prison.